Ever wonder what one idea changed everything and made Jeff Bezos so rich it's hard to imagine? What one thought changed everything for him, from a simple idea to a global empire? We'll show you the important lesson that made him so successful and how it can change your financial future in this movie. Are you ready to learn the key that will pave your way to wealth? When I was working at a financial firm in New York City, I was surrounded by a small group of exceptionally intelligent individuals, and I had a great employer whom I admired very much. During my meeting with my boss, I informed him that I was planning to launch a business that would sell books over the internet. In the end, he replied, "That sounds like a really good idea, but it would be an even better idea for someone who didn't already have a good job." He then took me on a long walk in Central Park, listened to me carefully, and then concluded that sounds like a really good idea. Jeff Bezos made the decision to leave a high-paying profession and launch an online internet bookstore in 1994. At first, he planned to call it Cadabra, but he eventually changed it to Amazon. Bezos utilized a regret minimization model to make his decision. When it comes to thinking about the world and making judgments that are in accordance with principles, mental models serve as frames and filters. You may increase your chances of being successful by using mental models to improve the way you think and the decisions you make based on sound ideas. After he had considered quitting his job and agonized over the prospect of taking the risk and making the leap as an entrepreneur, he decided to pursue his dream of starting his own firm by employing a straightforward heuristic. With the help of the mental model of regret minimization, a tough option that could have a significant impact on one's life was simplified into a more straightforward choice. When it comes to developing a framework for minimizing regret, the most important question to ask oneself is, in X number of years, will I regret not doing this? Within the context of this mental model, you are prompted to visualize yourself in the future and then examine the decision from the perspective of that future self. Have you ever regretted making this choice, regardless of whether the outcomes were positive or negative? The response to this question must be either yes or no. There is no other option. If you do not believe that you will experience regret, then you will not. In order to determine whether the possibility for loss is worth the potential for gain, you need to develop a risk-reward ratio by imagining both the worst-case situation and the best-case scenario that could occur. You need to feel at ease when both possible outcomes are considered, and you should start with no regrets in either direction. Jeff Bezos believed that on the day he turned 80 years old, he would be kicking himself for not having started an online bookshop in the year 1994. It would appear that his analysis was accurate, as he was the wealthiest person in the world at the height of his career, in contrast to remaining in his prosperous profession and pondering the possibilities that may have been. When I was 80 years old, I knew that I would not be able to look back and regret having tried this. My attempts to take part in this thing called the internet, which I believed was going to be a really big deal, were not going to be something that I would come to regret. I knew that if I failed, I would not be sorry about it, but I was also aware that the one thing I might be sorry about is that I never ever attempted it. With the help of this mental model, you will be able to make choices considering the future rather than the present. By extending your vision with a greater context of time, this causes your decision-making process to shift away from the reality of the present and toward the possibilities and goals that you have set for yourself. The question that needs to be answered is whether you will feel more regret if you do something and fail at it, or if you will feel more regret if you never tried anything at all. In an interview that took place in the year 2000, Jeff Bezos stated, "I thought there was a 30% chance that we might build a successful company." Bezos maintained a realistic outlook on the likelihood of success and was aware of the possibility of failure, but he continued to pursue his goals nonetheless. Someone once said, "You can have a job, you can have a career, or you can have a calling. And if you can somehow figure out how to have a calling, you'll hit the jackpot because that is the big deal." 25 years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Jeff Bezos, and he told me, "I want you to invest in my company." "What are you doing?" The response that Bezos gave was, "I'm going to start a bookstore in my garage. I'm going to post it on the internet, consumers will make their purchases online, and I'm going to ship it out of my garage. However, if you make an investment in me, I will one day become the wealthiest person in the entire planet. I'll make more than $100 billion. $100 billion did not exist 25 years ago. To begin, there was no such thing as $100 billion. According to the statistics, there is no such thing. If he were to tell me at the age of 26 that he is going to be the richest man in the world because he had a garage and the internet, he would be giving me the truth. Countries did not have 100 and our national debt was not $100 billion. Now, he did not know it, and neither did I, but the difference between us is that I was laughing, scoffing, and making fun of him, while he was already applauding himself for moving forward in the right direction at the right time. I'm going to make as much as I can as quickly. And I was sitting there thinking, there's no way this is going to be a big business. What is the origin of Jeff Bezos? When Jeff Bezos joined D. Shaw & Co. in 1992, He was the youngest senior vice president of the company. He was instrumental in the establishment of a quantitative hedge fund on Wall Street that was both technically advanced and successful. According to what Bezos said in an interview with CNBC in the year 2001, I discovered this fact on a website that the web was growing at 2,300% per year. The concept of using the internet to create an online bookstore was the one that kind of captivated my attention. Jeff Bezos left his job as an investment banker in 1994, moved out of New York, and settled in Seattle, Washington in order to launch an online bookshop on the internet at a time when the internet was just beginning to gain popularity. He initially began his business by operating out of his garage with a small team of people. The software that would ultimately be used for the website, which would be known as Amazon.com, was designed by Bezos. According to Jeff Bezos, in the early days of Amazon, when he was just starting out in his garage, he would collect packages that needed to be delivered to his customers, load them into his own personal car, and then drive them to the post office himself. This was done in order to fulfill the requirements of his customers. Bezos quickly built Amazon from an online bookshop that he started in his garage to a warehouse and then grew it from there into the most successful e-commerce site in the world. It emerged from the dot-com bubble as the most successful success story over the next 20 years. You should pursue something that you are extremely enthusiastic about, and you should avoid chasing after what is kind of the hottest passion of the day. How did Jeff Bezos amass such a fortune? It was the value of Jeff Bezos' personal ownership of Amazon stock that contributed to the accumulation of his riches. As a result of Jeff Bezos' continuous ownership of the majority of his original shares, the stock price of Amazon has experienced a phenomenal increase over the past 20 years, which has contributed to his enormous wealth. The value of Amazon is around $90 billion, and Bezos still owns more than 10% of the company. The path that Jeff Bezos took to become a billionaire was quite similar to the path that the majority of the richest people in the world take to reach that level of wealth within a single generation. Amazon was founded by Bezos, who established a forward-thinking company that established an environment for the online sale of books. Following that, he utilized an initial public offering of stock to bring it to the attention of the stock market. In the end, he was the one who had a significant initial stock position in the company and was responsible for its growth into one of the most successful enterprises in the history of the globe. You can become a millionaire or a billionaire by taking advantage of the leverage that comes with holding shares in a publicly traded firm. This is another illustration of the power that comes with equity ownership in a publicly traded company. Before the stock split 20-for-1 on June 6, 2022, any investor who purchased and held 500 shares of Amazon became a millionaire. This occurred because the stock reached a price of more than $2,000 per share up to that point. It was a really difficult choice, but in the end, I decided that I had to give it a shot. I didn't think I would regret trying and failing, and I suspected that I would always be haunted by a decision to not try at all. After much consideration, I chose the path that was less safe in order to follow my passion, and I am proud of that choice. Don't miss out. Subscribe now to uncover the secrets behind the success of billionaires like Jeff Bezos and learn how to apply their strategies to your own life.